hockey moment of 1980. Everybody knows about that one, but no one seems to talk about what happened in 1972 when the U.S. struck silver. And joining us now, twin brothers from lovely Oswego, New York, Tom and Jerry Caraccioli, who have this book out, Striking Silver, about the U.S. silver medal team from that year. Most authors who put out books these days, they did their research and did all their writing in the last 5 years or less before a book comes out, but this goes way back to your guys' childhood.
Yeah, we were 7 or 8 years old when we first were introduced to this story by our coach, Pete Sears, who was our coach in Oswego. And we used to go swimming over at our aunt and uncle's house, and Pete and his wife, Kay, were neighbors. So we'd rap on the door after we get out of the pool, and we'd be invited in and we'd say, "Hey, Pete, can we come in and see your medal?" And he would say, "Sure, come on in." And there it was in the den, along with his jersey and some other memorabilia. And it just really always captivated us.
This is a guy that must have had a huge influence on y'all growing up.
Yeah, huge impact. He, on us, of course, and a whole generation of kids in Oswego, and the Oswego community and the hockey community. Just a great guy, and as it turns out, through our research, we found out that all 20 of these guys and the coach was basically the same type of guys, and I think that's probably why they had such success in Sapporo.
And the coach was Coach Williamson. And I got to admit, up until this point, up until today, I always thought that Herb Brooks was the man responsible for bringing that Red Army Soviet style to the U.S. team, but really it goes back to a drunk night that Coach Williamson had with the Russian.
Well, I don't know if they were drunk or not, but they exchanged some ideas over some shots of vodka. And one thing led to another, and Tarasov, Anatoly Tarasov, invited Coach Williamson over to the Soviet Union, and Coach Williamson took him up on it. And he was entertained and was invited to the off-ice training and the ice training, and he took notes, and he brought it back to the United States and revolutionized the way USA hockey was played internationally.
And Herb Brooks was a protege of his.
He was, and you know, Herb played for Murray in the 1968 Olympic team and other national teams. And like any good coach, you take from your previous coaches, and certainly Murray set the foundation for future success, and Herb Brooks certainly took it to the next level, and of course, miracles do occur.
Yes, and of course, Brooks also bringing it to the University of Minnesota. So many stories that you guys must have heard as kids, which I'm sure as adults you'd be just as wowed by. What are some of the, well, I guess pick one, you can't tell 3 stories at a time, but what's one story that really resonated with you?
The one story that resonated with me, it was the first interview we did, and I used to work at Merrimack College, and one of the hockey coaches was Stu Irving. And his story was that he was in Vietnam for 11 months, and he asked his dad to send him a dozen sticks and a dozen pucks. And he would take shots every night in the bunkers, and every day, it didn't matter what the weather was, he would take shots in practice with the hope that he could come back to the United States and potentially become an Olympian.
And he was over in Vietnam at the time.
He was in Vietnam, and he said to me, when it happened, when he got back, invited back to the United States, he said, I was on temporary duty with the United States Olympic hockey team. If I got cut, I had to go back to Nam. Oh. And that sent chills down my spine, and I called Jer and I said, we have a book.
And he was one of several guys, right, who would have been in Vietnam if not for making the team.
Yeah, there were 6 guys in total, 2 that actually served, Stu Irving and Pete Sears, that served a year before in 1968. But 4 other guys, Henry Boucher, Tim Sheehy, Charlie Brown, and Dick McGlynn, were all assigned to the U.S. hockey team. And like Tom said, if they got cut, they were on their way overseas to another part of Asia that they really didn't want to be in.
Guys, that's one amazing story. Is there another one out there that's in the book? We don't want to give away the whole book.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, honestly, the ending of the book is truly a testimony to what this team is about. There is really no eye on this team. The stars were limited, but the end of the book is just a real surprise and a really, truly team story, which is, you know, it was very good.
And Jerry, you were pointing out that the Team USA, who just lost to Finland today, that there are still ties from that team going back to 1972.
Yeah, it's one of those stories that you don't realize until it happens. But Yeah, direct tie from the 1972 team to this year's team is Eric Cole, who happens to be from Oswego, New York, was coached by Pete Sears. And Pete, as I said earlier, he had such an influence on a whole generation of kids, and certainly Eric was one of them. And I think Eric did not only the United States proud, but certainly Oswego, New York, and Oswego Minor Hockey very proud, too.
All right, and speaking of ties, I have to ask this question. If Striking Silver would become a made-for-TV movie, Tom, you got ties to NBC. Jerry, you're at CBS. Who gets the rights?
CBS has got the rights.
Let's hope. Who knows?
All
That'd
right.
be great.
That'd be a pleasant dilemma to have.
Well, Tom and Jerry, for now, good luck with the book, and thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, and lots more to get to here on the